Right guys, welcome back to the channel. We have the latest winner on the DP World Tour, Mr. Marco Penge.
Cheers, Matt. Thanks for having me.
DP Tour winner, how does that sound?
Yeah, surreal.
Yeah.
Still can't quite believe it. Yeah, I don't think it's going to sink in.
Dream come true.
For a while. Yeah, unbelievable.
The best is yet to come. But today we're going to be picking your brains about all things approach play. We're on the 17th hole here at Clitheroe Golf Club. Lovely par 3, but we're going to get into it. We're going to go through what you're using throughout your bag and then getting some advice on how to hit more greens throughout there.
Perfect.
So, flag today, 156 yards for us today, Marco. What are we thinking first things here? What we're going to go with?
Feel a little bit of wind into.
Yeah.
It's a right flag. When there's a right flag, I like to move it off the middle of the green.
Yeah.
And hit a little cutting.
Nice.
So I'll probably take a 9-iron and just hit a little chippy fade.
Let's go for it then. So, stats from last week, Marco. You were greens in regulation, you were number 1.
Mm-hmm.
And this season, you're actually number 5 on DP World Tour at 74% hit.
Mm-hmm.
Not bad.
Pretty good.
Is that a big improvement?
Yeah, that was one of the stats I looked at the end of last year.
Yeah.
In the comparison of when I had my best weeks.
Yeah.
Hitting greens, I was always in the top 10 when I had my best weeks. So we made that like a priority this year to, make sure that I hit as many greens as I can.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna try to hit a little fade into this flag.
There we go, a little fade.
Not bad.
So let's talk setup of gear before we get into how we're going to hit it. What have you? Is these current set S3s? Have you switched into them this season or?
Yeah, I started using them towards the end of last year before I went down to Australia. Pretty similar to what I was using before, but kind of slightly prefer the look to them and feel like there's a little bit more forgiveness.
Have you always had cavity? Has it been a blade more?
I've tested the two. I was using a blade, but now I've kind of gone into kind of combination of the two, just to give me a little bit of help when the grass gets a bit soft and things like that.
Are you noticing that more out on tour? More players moving away from cavity and getting that sort of, because it looks very much from the top line, doesn't it? Very sleek.
I mean,
but we see more cavities in players' bags.
Definitely. I mean, they look, when you look down at it, it doesn't look any different to a blade.
Yeah.
But I think most guys are kind of like, why use something that is making it harder?
Yeah.
A blade with less forgiveness. Strike consistency is probably a little tougher, so definitely more players are moving into a cavity iron.
And do you see more distance from it, or is it similar distance to your blades?
Similar distance for myself. The lofts are on the same. Yeah, for me they've been great, so there's no complaints.
Nice. Right then, looking at, let's see, we've hit a good one. We want to get one closer. We've had a few hole-in-ones on the channel this year, Marco.
Right, pressure's on.
You've got no pressure. You need to add to it. But looking at your stats, 74% as your season goes through. Obviously, I would say you're known for your driver length, aren't you?
Yeah.
You bomb it.
Yeah.
But obviously on tour courses, it's not that you're just going to be hitting pitching wedge, and you're hitting a lot of, mid to long irons.
Yeah.
What's your process to try and hit more greens?
So firstly, I need to be in play. I need to give myself a chance to have a second shot. So, obviously my aim's been to try and hit more greens.
Yeah.
It started from the tee box. Probably not been as aggressive as I used to be, because obviously my emphasis is on hitting greens. I mean, getting on the short stuff is the most important thing. It's easiest to control, less variables really.
So then once you found the short stuff like this hole here, or par 3s, or on the fairway, what are sort of 3 things you would do that, probably an amateur's overlooking? Is there anything in particular?
Obviously always trying to play to the heart of the green. Most courses, if you hit the middle of the green, you're not going to be miles away from the hole.
Yeah.
And when obviously out on tour, the pins are tucked quite a lot, so it's kind of pick and choosing when, if I have a good number, then I might be a little bit more aggressive, or kind of going off my feelings of how do I feel with this number, this shot, the wind direction, and then kind of choosing how aggressive I want to be.
How often are you aiming at a flag then?
Probably,
Percentage?
I'd probably say I'm aiming at a flag 25% of a round of golf.
That small?
Yeah.
Oh wow, I would have thought it would, like with tour players you sort of see it's always looks like you hit stone dead, so I would have thought it would have been probably 70-30 in the
no,
at the flag.
I mean, depends on course condition, how firm the greens are, how fast the greens are, kind of what short-sided misses are like to get up and down. So it does vary a little bit, but I'd definitely say it's between that 25 and 50%.
Wow.
So,
And then, so aiming at that flag, is there, what would another thing be? Is there...
So here, you know, I'll be looking at this flag, and obviously there's a stream short left. So, you know, ideally I don't want to be coming up short left. That's a bad miss. It's a right flag, so I'm going to hit a cut into it. So, you know, if I do hit it left, it's going to go further. You know, say this is 160, I'm trying to hit a cut into a 160 flag. If I don't fade it, the ball's probably going to go 165. Right. So it's taking out the trouble at short left.
So there's a lot of calculation that goes into the shot.
I tend to pick my flight there on where the kind of bad miss is. So I'm always trying to move it into a flag.
Right.
You know,
start it at the fatter part of the where you could hit it, and then move it onto the flag if you can. And if you missed it from that point, you're going to be safe.
Yeah, I'm always trying, when I move the ball, not to cross the centre line. So if I drew a line from me to the flag and I'm fading the ball, I never want to be over fading it. And the same with a draw. I want to make sure that if I'm hitting a draw, my miss is a straight shot.
So from here where we are now then, if we're looking from your golf ball, we're drawing a line straight up to this flag, and everything that you're doing is working in the left portion here.
Yeah.
You've got the two bunkers on the right, so you wouldn't want to.
No.
You wouldn't want to go those. So you sort of.
Exactly. I know that my bad shot with a fade is a straight shot. It's not an overcut.
Like a bit of a pull.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not an overcut. So I'm taking the right side out. I'm taking front left out. I can hit it pin eye. I can hit it back left. That's fine.
That's interesting.
So the fade is a correct shot.
Was it Matt Wallace? I think he talked about a wall and with his driver hitting it down a wall. He couldn't go down over the wall or something, which sounds very similar.
Yeah, I think a lot of players, they imagine a wall is up their back. Yeah. And you know, so if you're hitting a fade, you don't want it ever to be, you know, if you're starting it at just inside out of bounds, say, you never want it to be missing left. Right. Always trying to work. It's kind of a bit opposite for me into greens and off the tee. Kind of like, I like to work it away from danger at times, whereas into greens, I like to move it into a flag. Yeah, kind of off the danger. Yeah. It's kind of like a bit of the two, but you know, for me, it's definitely that way.
Okay, let's see another one then. What have we got? Same club here, 9-9?
9-9.
What's the yardage for this one would be?
So, I mean, this hole's about 158. I hit a 9-iron full 170. So,
if only, eh?
If I hit a full 9-iron with a cut, I'm probably going to lose 5 or 6 yards. That's taking me back to 164. Okay. And the flag's a little shorter than that, so I'm taking. It's kind of like a 90% fade.
Sounds so different.
It's a little short, that one. That wasn't the best one.
Climbed over. So if I were to move you now over here, let's say, even going back, and you were to go to an 8-iron.
Yeah.
I'll grab you your 8-iron in a sec. If we're going to go from here.
Yeah.
What changes are you trying to lower the flight? Would it be the speed of the swing? How would you get round something like this where you're in between a club?
So I have 3 positions. I have, 4 positions. I obviously have a full.
Yeah.
I have 10 o'clock, you know, on the clock face.
And this is with like a mid-iron?
Yeah.
Okay.
10 o'clock, 9:30 and 9 o'clock. A 10 o'clock, well, 9 o'clock's here, 10 o'clock's a touch higher. I feel when I swing the club, it's at 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
Might not be, it's probably more 11 o'clock, but my feeling is this is a 10 o'clock 8-iron.
Okay.
And each position tends to take off 8 to 10 yards. So, you know, I normally hit an 8-iron, 185. Say this is 165, so I need to take 20 yards off. So I'll be going down two positions from a full shot, which is a 930.
And I guess that comes with knowing your yardages, doesn't it?
Definitely. And I tend to, when I'm playing these knockdown shots, I narrow my stance also.
Look at that.
It's pretty good.
That would do. That would do indeed. So do you find you play those shots a lot out on course? Because I think one thing I would see from an amateur all the time is that they play as if every shot that they hit is a full shot.
Yeah. For me, definitely this year, it's something I've worked really hard on. You know, as a long hitter, taking speed out and controlling speed can be quite tough.
Yeah.
So I'm always, you know, last week I remember saying to my caddy in round 3, I said, if we're in between hitting something full and can't quite get it there, let's always revert back to taking some yardage off it.
Yeah.
You know, you can control the spin, you can control the window a little better. It's just more accuracy really and more control.
Interesting that, yeah. I think that is something that I would see a lot of amateurs struggling with. Everything's full out, never going for the lower club and hitting that sort of 10 o'clock window.
Definitely.
And then with you got your irons around that Australia time. Are you always checking your yardages? Are you from week to week? Is that something that happens?
Every week, every range session I do, I always have, you know, I'm lucky enough to have a TrackMan and a GC3. It's, you know, it's a big part of, you know, being precise and having that extra 1%. So I've always got a monitor down whenever I'm hitting balls, always looking at the number after each shot.
Yeah.
So I'm constantly working on my distance control, constantly working on, you know, my path, my face angle. And, you know, I've always got an intention on every shot, how far am I hitting this one?
That's huge,
This is a 160 shot I'm going to hit. And just always training that kind of control of speed and length of swing.
Like it. And if we were gonna, let's put you back here again, let's go. Say, in fact, I'm gonna test how good you are. A little bit of workability in these irons. Let's take that one out. Let's go 7-iron. What if we were gonna hit a little draw, knockdown draw? It's wind into.
Yeah.
You're playing Port Rush this year, so this is gonna get you ready for that. How are we changing to change the flight? Is it setup changes for yourself, or is it?
Yeah. So for me, I'd definitely change my setup. If I'm going to hit a knockdown shot, the ball would definitely tend to go back a little bit. I'd probably do that more by narrowing my stance, because, you know, I'd work my ball position off my sternum and my body rather than my feet.
Right, okay.
So, you know, I'd narrow my stance down, the ball will automatically go a touch further back. Set up with a touch more lean at setup, with the ball going back, there's a little more lean to take loft.
Handle press forwards.
Yeah. Grip down is a potential. It's something that I've not been very good at over the years, and I'm trying to work that in.
Yeah.
Is gripping down it, because, you know, say if you've got, say you hit a 7-iron, for me 200 yards is a 7-iron, and it's into wind. I know I can grip down the club, and it's going to take off about 600 to 700 revs of spin.
Okay.
Yeah, it might go 5 yards shorter because I'm shortening the club, and the swing speed will go down, but the spin rate isn't going to get affected.
Okay.
So
and would you feel then a swing feeling change? Are you going to try anything in your swing like during your golf swing or not?
I'd definitely feel like I'm holding the face more through the ball.
Yeah.
You know, it's not as explosive, and I'm not letting the release of the club really.
Okay.
It's kind of feels like a bit of a dead arm shot.
Yeah.
You know, kind of like a long chip shot.
Yes.
So here, obviously, it's 160. 7-iron
would be
for
that
me.
like 9 o'clock position you would talk about?
Be even less, yeah. I'd have to go real narrow stance.
Yeah.
9 o'clock, reduce the speed a touch as well.
Okay.
Putting me,
Incredible.
you're testing me.
Well,
So, you know,
as a winner, little draw here, we want to.
You know, I'm setting up there real narrow.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like I'm just hitting a chip.
That is
Just to
brilliant.
go a hair.
It's amazing how you've hit 3 clubs and they're all in this, like they're within what, 4 yards of each other, like front to back dispersion, and that's knowing your numbers.
Yeah.
Looking at your gear then, how much does, you know, you say you change to these, you go 2 iron, 4 iron, down to wedge.
Yeah.
How much does sort of knowing your gear and tweaking it to how you like it play a big part?
I think it's huge. You know, as professional players,
Yeah.
you know, everyone's as good as each other in a way, and it's trying to find that little edge on your opponents. So,
Yeah.
you know, making sure your loft and lies are always where you want it. They're a big thing for me, loft and lies, obviously.
How often do you check that?
Probably, I would say once a month, once every 3 weeks, I would check my loft and lies.
Yeah.
You know, we're hitting a lot of balls out there. You know, it can change, they can change, bend pretty quickly. So, but I find in the Mizunos, you know, they don't move too much.
No.
I've had sets in the past that have moved a lot more than the Mizunos do. So
that's something, yeah, just keep an eye on it.
Definitely.
So if you were sort of hitting balls on your Trackman GC3, then you see something going off, is that a case of, right, let's go and have a look and see?
Normally I can see by the start line if my lies are out. So
Right.
a few weeks ago I was in Singapore and my 60 degree kept starting left.
Mine does that.
And
Goes further left.
and I was saying to my caddy, I said, why is my 60 degree going left every time? I said, like, the lie must have changed. It must be more upright. So obviously when you make the club more upright, the face point's further left.
Yeah.
And then I got home and it was 1.5 degrees.
And
It moved 1.5
it's
degrees.
incredible, like how you notice these things. It is amazing. And then just one final thing on the equipment. We've got the S3s. Favourite set you've ever had, or is there any other Mizunos in the past that you've played?
Probably, you know, and especially now, the favourite set I've had, obviously coming off last week.
But, are they getting framed, these?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
But the 243s, I think it was the 243s last year, were a great iron. A lot of, you know, versatility in it. You know, you could knock it down, you could hit it up. I just think, you know, Mizuno make great irons, and that's why I'm using them.
Brilliant. Well, guys, hope you've taken a little bit from that, Marco.
Cheers, Matt.
Thank you for coming on.
You're welcome.
Congratulations on the win.
Thank you very much.
And stay tuned for more from us.